I said in my earlier two videos, I had said I hadn't looked at betting yet, and this will do that. The vast majority of these, I think the one player is favourite, and a few of them, I think the white player is favourite, the odds of them, but the odds of my favourite are a little short. Match 1, Cameron Menzies, Charlie Manby. These are bookmakers' odds here, although Betfair can often offer better odds, they don't do multiple bets through their exchange. They do for a sports book, so that's the same as any bookmaker, frankly. So Betfair odds might be a little better there, so to speak. Cameron Menzies 8-13, Charlie Manby 7-5. Last year I thought Cameron Menzies, Jermaine Watamina and Vessel Nyman would get to the last 16. The only one who was anywhere near that was Watamina, who then ran against our revitalised Peter White in the last 32. Menzies had an absolute disaster against Leonard Gates when he frankly fell apart on the stage. And Menzies has this problem, I think. He's not replicating really his floor form on the TV stage. Manby, a player I didn't know too much about touch of the Super Series, has been brilliantly there. And I think the odds on Manby are, I think Manby should be favourite personally. I don't think it's going to be overwhelmingly favourite, and maybe not the switching odds around, so maybe Manby not even 7-5. I generally think Manby should be favourite. I think he's got an outside chance of making the quarter-finals, as in his sort of eighth part of the draw, as James Wade, who has a poor record of his championship, despite 4 semi-finals. He's not won a match in the second run for 3 years. And he also is going to run against Ricky Evans, who could threaten him, and he's the greatest player, but he's a danger to people. And Jan van Veen, who, despite his great win of the European Championship, hasn't won a match in 2 years here. So I think Manby is definitely should be favourite in that one. The second one is a much more wild punter. That's Chris Dobie Zhong Zhao Chen. Dobie does not replicate his floor form on the TV, and he struggles with his doubles as he did recently in the Grand Slam. And I don't like going against a fellow person from Newcastle. I want Dobie to do well, but you have to take betting. There's no room for sentiment in betting. And despite his Masters win at the start of last year, Dobie just hasn't quite shown it on the TV, and the pressure can get to him. And I'm not saying Dobie will lose. I don't think he will. I think he will probably certainly win 3-0. Zhao Zhao Chen's averages aren't a mile behind Dobie's, and he can be a threat. And looking at the odds here, Dobie 1-33, Zhao Zhao Chen 18-1. I know which I think is better value. Match 3, Connor Scott, Simon Whitlock. Scott is off form this year, certainly compared to the last couple of years. The Wizards is back again. I think Whitlock can win this game. I think Whitlock is the most likely winner. The Scott of a couple of years ago, no, the previous 2 years, I think would be favourite, but he's just not shown his form this year. And so Whitlock, I think, you get the crowd behind him. He's a popular player, and frankly, I think the Scott's form this year has been pretty poor, and so I think Whitlock can take this one. And one of the big ties the first round, Darryl Gurney, Bo Greaves. I think Gurney should be slight favourite here. The odds of bookmakers, Gurney 5-4, Greaves 11-8 on. However, Bo Greaves, and it was mentioned in one of my previous videos recently, she hasn't absolutely taken the chance on TV. The Grand Slam she should have beaten, really, Gary Anderson and Michael Van Gerwen, hasn't taken the chance. And are yet to see maybe can she cope with pressure at that big match there? Can she cope with that pressure when it's really on the TV, everything, all the eyes are on her, and she's going to get crowd support, but I don't think that'll affect Gurney. Gurney is a bit of a feisty character, and I think he might quite like the crowd having a go. I don't think he minds it, and I think the odds, it's going to be a very close game, I think, and I think the odds maybe it should be the other way around, and maybe even actually something like 11 to. Well, I mean, obviously bookmakers, you never get 100%. You get an over round, you get 100%. But if it was a perfect market, I would say maybe Greaves 11-10, Gurney 10-11 on. So a very close match. But I say Bo Greaves, she was brilliant at the challenge tournament at the start of the year. She's not quite as great now. She's still good. But I think there's coming overreaction in the market here. And Gurney, I think, fractional favourite. It's going to be a great game, and I think it's going to be a close game. But I have Gurney fractionally the favourite. Another close one, Dimitri Van den Bergh, Darren Beveridge. Now this is the odds that bookmakers showing the same odds I talked about. I think Greaves Gurney should be. With Van den Bergh 11-10, Beveridge 11-10 on. So a very close game. I think that should be the other way around. I'm not saying that it was horrendously wrong, but Dimitri Van den Bergh's had a very poor time of it, but he's much better on TV. I think he's popular with the crowd. He likes the atmosphere. He was dancing. I think actually Dimitri fractionally, I think I was just the other way, one way around. This is certainly not one I think is radically wrong, but I think it's just it should be maybe Beveridge should be something like 11-8, say. I think also one way around. It's going to be a close game again, but I think Dimitri should be favoured in that one. Another punt here. Jan van Veen, Christo Ways. Jan van Veen, I underrated. I thought in the European Championship he wouldn't win. I thought actually, I said in my previous video that it was the first round match against him and Damon Heta, and neither of which had really turned up on the TV, and I said whoever won that game wouldn't get very far. Of course he won the tournament. However, as I've also said in my previous videos, I think he plays better in Europe than he does in the UK. I'm not saying Rays will win, but bookmakers or Jan Van 10-1 on, Rays 8-1. I think Rays are the better odds there. They had a great match still 3 years ago now against Van Gogh and had 100 average in losing. And we're not quite sure we're going to get with Crystal Rays. But then I don't think we're not going to get with Jan Van Veen. And I think 8-1 Rays is not a bad price if Van Veen doesn't quite turn up. James Hole still bunts, Hole's 9-4-1, bunts 21-10. Benson turned up well on the TV. James Hole, I don't think he's having the best time of it, and so there, I think he also be the other way around. Again, not like say still, but like Nessie Hole 21-10. But I think Spunt should be favourite, and I think Hole's at 9-4-1 is certainly too short. It's 21-10 with slightly better odds and bet for that's I think much better bet. Another slight outlier here: Jermaine Watamina, Dominic Gulick. Watamina should be favourite. And he should win. He should win 3-0. Watamina, Menzies, and also actually Dirk van Leeuwenbode. The three of them, I've said in my videos before that they sometimes don't put a bad visit behind them or just let the things get on top of them. Watamina's greatest performance reaching the European Championship final last year. Problem is, he rather tanked against Switch Headhouse. It was 3-all and then he just fell apart. Just didn't show anything really. And he can do it a bit too much. A Watamina on form wins easily. A Watamina who isn't, certainly doesn't. We say lose the first set or something, I'm not sure. The odds here we have is Watamina 11-2 on, Gulick 5-1. And it's a bit of a punt, I have to say, at 5-1. But Watamina not turning up. Gulick 5-1. I think he'll win, and I hope for a great on form Jermaine Watamina is great to watch. But again, I have to see what can happen, and Grant Watamina certainly can let things go sometimes. Next, Joe Cullen, Bradley Brooks. Bradley Brooks 13-8 on, Cullen 11-8. As I've said, Cullen, I gave a terrible interview in my view after beating Western Lyman last year's World Championship. And he's actually in better form this year than last year. And last year he wasn't in form, did beat Western Lyman. I think he might be slightly underrated. Bradley Brooks had a very good second half to his Pro Tour campaign, a win, a semi and 3 quarter-finals. However, his TV record's not great. With Cullen a former major winner, I think Cullen can take this. I think the odds are wrong. I think it's twice 11-8. I've said a lot of logic here, as Cullen's actually averages below Bradley Brooks this year, but that's again maybe on the Pro Tour rather than anything else. I think Cullen certainly should be favoured in this match. Next, Keane Barry, Tim Pusey. Pusey had a good record on the Australian Tour, winning a number of tournaments. Obviously, that's a lower grade on him meet here. But Keane Barry, personally, I think he's been a bit disappointing this year. And so I think the value there is Pusey. I think is most likely winner, and certainly odds there are better on Pusey. Keane Barry 21-10 on. Obviously, he's like obscure odds you get these days. Tim Pusey 2-1. Pusey the value there. One I don't understand at all, Lumen Hop. Lumen 6-4, Hop 13-8 on. Hop used to be a very good player, lost his way. Lumen did a lot better last year, getting into the Grand Slam final. He's not done quite so well since then, but he's done better than Hop has, and I really do think also the other way around. That is a one that's possibly out like totally on the odds. I mean, it's not huge odds on Lumen at 6-4, but I do find that it's the one thing I didn't expect when I was looking at the odds, to see the other person as a favourite. I generally thought Lukeman was favourite, and I don't understand why he's not. Mr. Sulovic, David Cameron. Sulovic 2-1 on, Cameron 2-1 against. This is not really suited for this tournament. He's struggled in it. I don't think he's ever got to the 4th round. Famously lost to Fallon Sherrick in 1 year. And David Cameron, he don't see a lot on this tour. He beat Richie Headhouse 1 year in this tournament. He's got a good record of a seniors tour. I think I'm surprised to be honest a bit here, because Sulovic is saying he had a great match against Michael Van Gogh and he put a great effort against him. But William Hole has not been in this tournament, and he's on the downgrade, certainly where he was, and so I think David Cameron's certainly better odds there. Mickey Mansell landed Gates. Mansell 5-1, Gates 94 against. Mansell again also did well last year. He's in finals of Grand Slam. But Hole, his form hasn't really held up, I feel. Gates can be erratic, I think. He can brilliantly or terribly. And at 94, I think on form than the Gates, I think a turn over Mickey Mansell. Of course, he could struggle as well. But I believe that Gates at a game, if Gates really turns up and gets going, I think he'll win the game. Nick Kenny, Justin Hood. Kenny 6-4 against. Hood 17-11 on. I think it's a very tight game, and the averages are very tight. And that's slightly favour Justin Hood. But Kenny did well, winning a couple of games last year. So in a game it would be difficult to call. I think Kenny's a better value. Carter Petrescu, Jose de Souza. Petrescu 8-11, Souza 5-4 against. Souza's probably my favourite player, so you might argue that I'm sort of doing this out of more hope than judgment. But bar his 4th round last year, when Petrescu did really well, his record of this country is quite poor. He had a shocking match, his name is Aspinall, when he didn't even hit an 80 in the 4th round, which is just one word. God knows that's really poor performance. Sort of fell apart there. And De Sousa had a wretched 3 years, frankly. I was delighted to see him actually qualify here for the PPA matches. And oddly, I was saying on the Sport Life Darts preview that he's qualified now for he gets tour card back because of his win here. I don't think that's the case. I'm a bit lost by that. I'm sure he has to win a few games. I don't know why they're claiming that. But if he gets it together, I think he'll win the game. It's going to be a close one, I think. Certainly it's almost 50-50, and I fractionally favour De Sousa, certainly do. So I don't think Protector should be favoured. He's got a much better record in Europe than he has here. Which is Edhouse, Johnny Tartar. Edhouse 5-2-1, Tartar 94 against. So a couple of my earlier videos that I saw Edhouse's first 2 round matches in 23 and 24 on the TV. He was cruising at 2-0 up and lost both 3-2, then lost to Ian White the second round 3-1. As Redhouse as a seed after the European Championship, got straight into a second round. He was one of my favourite players. Just a poor record in this tournament, as I already said. Quarterfinals 2014. And Edhouse is a one-trick pony. That European Championship win is basically his only win. I mean, beat Guatemala, who sort of fell apart, I think, in that match. And saying Edhouse has got a couple of second round matches, and then in the past, I mean, he's had the first round, and then second round last year when he was a seed. He almost didn't want to be seed next year. So, Dart's got some decent form, obviously at a lower level. I think 9-4 is a very good price for Johnny Tartar against someone who I think have that one tournament win, and I think that's basically it for him. Another game here, Fibo Truco, Motuma Sakai, Trico 40-85 on, Sakai 9-5 against. Trico simply hasn't really turned up in the Pro Tour. He's okay, but he's not done a lot. And I think he was a very short price on against. Trico's an odd character in terms of his form. The last 2 Pro Tours, he's had 2 good results, a quarterfinal, semi-final, but then a couple of rounds and that's it. He just badly returns to a couple of decent performances. He's very, very inconsistent. The difference average is only 2.5, and as I said in certain other things, that Sakai might be actually underrated, and as he's maybe playing weaker players, and the average might slightly improve. And I think Trico just isn't consistent enough. Found it an interesting one here. I'm not sure how to call this, and I'll actually mention one of the matches as well, and I'm a bit uncertain about it. I was going to leave that off, and actually I decided just now. This two matches are Vessel Nyman, Karol Sedlacek. Nyman 6-17 on, Sedlacek 5-2 against. And I'm just not turning up on the TV in this country. I was saying in a couple of videos again why I can only think it's maybe I don't think necessarily he gets booed because of his previous match fixing conviction, but he maybe just squares in his mind when he's not on the TV in this country. I don't know. There's some reason he's really poor in this country on the TV. He's okay on the Pro Tour in this country. He's okay in Europe. On the Euro Tour, it just seems not to be here. And Sedlacek 5-2. I think that might be the right odds actually, so I don't know if there's value there, but I think Ryman might be overrated. The other one, Ryan Meikle, Jesus Salete, I think those are probably correct, so I don't know if there's value here, but I think Meikle 3-10, Jesus 3-1. Jesus has good results in the Americas, good averages. His yearly average, I was going to think maybe tip him to win, he might improve, but his yearly average is a bit less than I thought it was against Meikle's. But you know what you're going to get with Ryan Meikle, isn't it? You know, he's an okay player. So I think it's going to be an interesting one, this one, and I'm quite interested to watch it. But I think yours are correct. I'm mentioning Nyman and Meikle as people who may be surprises, defeated, but maybe the odds are about right of their opponent.